Thank you, Ridhima. Hello, folks, and I welcome you all to this session of Cloud Fundamentals 101 on how to get started on cloud. I'm Disha Babla, and I'm in part of AWS training and certification team. I'm an AWS ATEX certified professional, where some of my certifications are consisting of Solution Architect Associate, Professional, specialty level certifications as well. And yeah, I would like to discuss on my hobby as well. I was a travel freak, but yeah, that's why exactly I'm using was because that's a new normal. And in this sensitive time, I hope you all are keeping well. And it's always, good to get started with anything new. So I hope this session adds on something to your learning as well. All right. So getting started with what exactly is the concept of cloud computing? So as you're trying to break the things down, I really would like to know why cloud? Because in case of cloud, everything is programmatic. I would like to know on how I can utilize, let's say, cloud to, enhance my business. How I can use demand delivery here as resources. The amount of resources that comes into play. How exactly can I save my cost? And of course, getting started with that discussion, I would like to introduce AWS. Amazon Web Services, which started in the year 2006, was able to understand the requirement of what exactly is the need of IT, where we do not want to focus on what exactly is my infrastructure needing. I would really like to focus on what my customer is demanding. I would like to focus on my application. I would like to focus on my team's development. I want someone should be able to go and take care of my infrastructure here in this case. That's what AWS began offering IT infrastructure services in the year 2000, where we are currently having 200 plus fully featured services based on different categories. You'll be able to find almost all the solutions under the hood. So why do customers choose cloud? Trying to have a quick comparison, the traditional infrastructure versus AWS cloud. Why exactly traditional infrastructure? First of all, in case if we have been working in the data centers or in the traditional IT infrastructure, what exactly we were worried about the equipment, about ensuring that the prerequisites are being fulfilled, resources, administration. I have to pay upfront cost. I have to ensure that PO is being raised. I have to ensure that the infrastructure is up and running all the time. A lot of resources are being invested. Why exactly AWS cloud now? First of all, that's one of the beauty that we have in AWS, that it's the cloud computing to the finest. You just have to pay for what exactly you are using. There is no any upfront cost. There is no any kind of a penalty charges. You need the resources, you turn them off, you spin them up. If you do not need them, simply you're good to go and terminate them. So experiment, that becomes easy when failure is less expensive. If failure was expensive, I would never try. So in case of AWS, you can democratize all the advanced technologies, ensuring that how can you make your application smart enough? And that is something that leads to the different, and I'll say 6 advantages of AWS cloud computing. I don't want to guess the capacity. I don't want to put my foot into the over provisioning. I do not want to put my foot into under provisioning. I want to be ready, but I do not want to have any kind of an upfront cost. And in case if I'm trying to understand that in AWS, it becomes easy. Why? Because within few clicks, it's the speed that matters. You can become global as well. It's not just in case of on-premise or IT infrastructure, the traditional infrastructure, if I'm trying to talk about, it's not possible for me, or I'll say nearly very expensive to have your infrastructure in almost, let's say, every corner of the world. But in case of AWS, within few clicks, you can reach out to the customers globally. And that's something that saves me and gives me a massive benefits in case of economies of scales. I do not want to spend on the data centers or the service which I'm not using to the fullest. I want to completely consume what the capacity is. Now, whether in case of AWS, if I talk about whether it's instances, whether it's containers, or even going beyond that, serverless. So global infrastructure that I talk about AWS, currently we are having 25 geographic regions with 81 availability zones all across the globe. We are in the plan to launch 18 more availability zones along with 6 more regions globally. Integrating AWS with your on-prem or on-premise infrastructure. That's something that we talk about, the AWS hybrid cloud modality. That means, let's say if you want some part of your server or your computing or whatever is your infrastructure to run in AWS and some part to run in the data centers, maybe there can be various factors like compliance or any of the factors. Are you looking forward to go and have an integration of your data centers with the AWS cloud? Of course, yes. We are having multiple services which are able to support your this requirement. All right. I have Active Directory. My data is going to be secured. Yes. We have to remember this, that security is a job zero at AWS. I want to back up my appliances. I want to ensure that a proper network configuration is given. So for all such kind of requirements, do I have an option in AWS? Of course, yes. AWS Direct Connect is one of those use cases. Talking about services, although we have more than 200 services and it's going to take I think a lot many days if I keep on speaking about the services which are having 6,000 plus features. All right. But just to give you a gist of it, I would like to take you all to the console to show you on what are the different categories and what are the services that are supporting your different needs. I hope everyone is able to see my screen. So folks, if I take you to the console, although there are various other ways to interact with AWS environment, one of them is AWS Management Console, one of them is CLI, and the third one is SDK. All right. And the services, if I'm able to take you all, and this is how beautiful it looks. We have various categories like computing. We have containers, storage, databases, machine learning. We have AWS cost management. We have front end and so on. There are so many categories. And based on these categorization, we are having these services that are able to support your that requirement. One of the key features, we also have a purpose-built databases where it is able to support 15 plus purpose-built database engines for your different requirements. So this is exactly how it looks like. Now, although so many services, but yeah, something here in this session, we are able to take it under the hood. Getting started with the computing services. Although we have many, but EC2, I think it's something, not a very new term. It's a web service where currently we are having 400 plus instances for virtually every business need. These instances, they are resizable in nature. Yeah, these are basically the virtual server that are running in AWS cloud. So whatever a server is able to fulfill, those needs, EC2 is able to fulfill. So it's very similar to what you have been doing in your data centers. Talking about ECS, that is your Elastic Container Service, that can become serverless. It's like your containers actually running in AWS. Fully managed features, you do not have to worry about how the provisioning is going to take place. Lambda, serverless, totally serverless. First of all, at first place, why do I need the servers? Where all I have to do is, I just have to run my code. Why do I need servers? Right? Lambda is able to support your that requirement where we can actually run the application code without thinking about servers as well. And that's what I call it as cloud computing to the finest. Storage services. So AWS currently offers a compute and a big, I'll say, a range of services for supporting the storage, which gives us the durability of 11 nines. That's the S3, Amazon S3. Trust here, you can have unlimited storage where Trust, sky's the limit. You can have unlimited amount of your objects to be stored, unlimited amount of your data to be stored in case of Amazon S3. Talking about EBS, it's a block level storage. So basically, your application that requires block level kind of a storage, we have EBS in which we have multiple volumes type, which are able to support your EBS requirement. So this EBS, you're basically attaching to your EC2 instances. One thing to remember, one EBS can be attached to your one single EC2 instance. In case if you're looking forward for a shared storage, where your one storage needs to be shared by multiple servers, like example here in our case, it's EC2 instances, EFS is for us. It's your elastic file system, simple, scalable, shared storage as a system. All right. Another option that we do have, which is again a part of S3, but is more beneficial in case of your archival storages. The kind of data that you're not using very frequently, but you want to preserve it. Example, any kind of financial transactions, any kind of let's say in case of hospital management or healthcare systems, we do not, or we cannot afford to lose data, right? We have to preserve that data so that if a person comes back after 10 years, 20 years of time, I want that data. But what is the point here? We know that we are not utilizing it very frequently. In such cases, I can use Amazon S3 Glacier, which is a low cost and highly durable storage service. It's an archival storage and again, responsible for your data backups as well. So you can have additional copies of your data available in the S3 Glacier. All right. Talking about the storage gateway, again, that comes under the picture where I can utilize it for the hybrid modalities. And it's a never-ending services. Although we are still into, again, learning and improving, where we might have some really interesting storage services upcoming very soon. Next, talking about the virtually unlimited cloud-based storage. It is having 11 nines of durability, along with which the data that is at rest can be encrypted. We can utilize AWS KMS, that is keys that are managed by AWS, the key management service, to ensure that whatever data is at rest needs to be encrypted. In case if you would like to use the customer managed keys as well, you can do that. Another portion, I would like to reach out to my customers globally. And it's always not cost optimized to have your infrastructure in every corner of the world or every region, I will say. Where what is my requirement is, I just want to cache my data or have a copy of my that data closer to the customers. It's the decreasing the proximity or decreasing the latency of the customers. What do we look forward to? It's a content delivery network. Okay. In such cases, we do have such services which utilize edge locations. Yes, edge location is also a part of your global infrastructure where these are the dedicated data centers. I would like to know that I want to have a copy of that data which customers keep on requesting for, or which is something that I can try to alleviate the burden of databases, which requires an expensive query. All right, I can use the global content delivery network for the same. Example, CloudFront. And apart from that, I have the hybrid options available where storage gateways, of course, are one of the key services that we have. Database services. So I'll rather use the word purpose-built databases. So we have around 15 plus database engines that are available to serve all your requirements. Getting started with RDS, we are having multiple engines which are able to support this requirement. That can be MySQL, that can be MariaDB, that can be your Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle. I have DynamoDB. I said that's one of the fastest database serving options that we have, specifically, let's say, for the gaming purpose. We have Elastic Cache to have, again, utilize the edge locations. I can have my cache data stored in the clusters where I can reduce the cost. I can save the infrastructure. And most important, I can be fast. I'm having Redshift, which is, again, something that I think a very good use case for the data analytics or the big data engineers or the data warehousing. Aurora, I'll say it's one of the beautiful serverless features that we have in the database services, where Aurora is able to boost up the speed of your MySQL up to 5x times and your PostgreSQL up to 3x times. And again, Aurora is available in the serverless option as well. We have DocumentDB. Again, that is something that comes under your NoSQL description. Again, it is fast, scalable, reliable for your MongoDB compatible database services. All right. So although we have a lot variety of databases that are available, these are some few handpicked, and I really want you all to know about it. Networking services. So folks, if I'm talking about networking part, networking is said to be one of the core reasons and the features that we want in the case of security. When I'm talking about how exactly is my environment isolated in AWS, because this cloud, it might be shared by millions of other users as well. And of course, being a let's say IT person, I do not want that my competitor should see what exactly I'm doing, and vice versa as well. They also do not want me to see what exactly they are doing. So I want a logical isolation. In such cases, what exactly am I using? Amazon VPC. It's a virtual private cloud that provides you with the logical isolation to isolate your workload from the other customers. You can protect your environment. You can define your own rules on what is going to be the incoming traffic, what is going to be the outbound traffic, and so on. You can have your custom VPCs as well available, where designing, where ensuring that your infrastructure is the way how it wants to be accessed. That is something that we decide under the hood. Direct connect. I want a dedicated speed from my data center or my on-premise to the AWS cloud. I'm looking forward for a hybrid modality with a greater sets of data to be transferred. I'm looking forward for a good performance. Direct connectors for you. Predictable performance is one of the hallmarks of Direct Connect, where it is a dedicated fiber channel which is not going over the internet. It's a dedicated fiber line or a fiber channel that travels from your on-premise data center to your AWS cloud environment. So using a Direct Connect, you can establish a dedicated network connection from your on-premise to your AWS cloud. So whether it can be utilized for your any requirements, or it can be used for the large data sets as well to be transferred. Route 53. Apart from being a DNS web service, Route 53 is also set to be a global load balancer, where let's say if there is a regional outage, whenever I'm trying to plan a multi-region deployment and there is a regional outage or something, I do not want to have a single point of failure, right? I want to ensure that my customers should not know that there was a failure. In such cases, do I have a service which is able to ensure that there is no any single point of failure? Yes, we do have Route 53. Route 53 again comes up with many routing policies based on what is your requirement. That can be geolocation, that can be geo proximity, that can be simple round robin as well, that can be weighted routing policy as well for your A/B testing or your blue-green deployment, where you can decide on how much traffic should go to which region. That's something that we can decide. We have multi-value answers record as well. And at the last, ELB. I want to be highly available. I'm checking for a multi-AZ deployment. I'm ensuring that, again, coming at a regional level, I do not want my customers should know that there was a EC2 instance failure. I do not want them to know that, okay, there is a lag or something. Do I need something? Of course, I do have. We are using ELBs, Elastic Load Balancers, where ELB is able to perform a health check of your EC2 instances before sending a traffic to that EC2 instance. Again, can I automate that action? Can I go and replace the failed instances? I can terminate them. I can remove them from the fleet. Of course, yes. ELB is closely working with your ASG, that your auto scaling group. Security and compliance. So folks, based on your different requirements, we have different services which are able to support your security and the functioning or the functionality in case of AWS. Identity and access control, if I talk about, we have IAM. IAM policies, I can simply go create a user. I can have roles. I can assign the policies to the users. I can assign the policies to the group. At an account level, what kind of an activity is taking place, I can get to know that in IAM part. I want my data to be protected, whether now it's at rest or whether now it's in transit, in flight. My data at rest, it can be protected using the KMS. Key management service, which is again managed by AWS. Would you like to use your own? Of course you can. Customer managed keys. Infrastructure protection. I would like to protect my system from the DDoS attack, from a regular SQL injection attacks. Can I do that? Of course, yes. We have Shield. We have WAF, that is Web Application Firewall, available. Talking about the compliance, I really would like to know that is my team having the systems updated or no? Are they ensuring that all the patching, everything is taken into the consideration, and is my team's system compliant or no? Or whatever rules you can, custom rules you want to go and define. Can I have that policies? Of course, yes. We use Systems Manager. We use config to ensure that the team's EC2 instances or the system, not just in AWS, but also in on-prem, can also be compliant. Detective controls. How it works, I would like to know, is my system secure? I would like to know that am I following the best practices of AWS or no? Do we have services that can tell me, a kind of a dashboard that can tell me what are the recommended practice I have to take? Or what are the actions, plan of actions I need to take or I have to design? Can I do that? Of course, yes. We have guard duty. We have inspector. The name itself says it's able to detect what is wrong or what are the actions that needs to be taken based on different categories. It gives you the information, again, kind of an alerts. And is it all about a low information, a medium, or a high information where the action needs to take place? And we have other many such services fitting all these requirements. So folks, we do have many such resources and support to help you understand more on what exactly is AWS Cloud all about. We have AWS Solution Architect. In case of you have any kind of a plan, let's say you have a developer's plan or enterprise plan, you're looking forward for a 24/7 support. The solution architects and experts, they are there for you. We have training and certifications where all the AWS authorized instructors, they are available to ensure that you have, we are able to deliver a certain knowledge along with the different modules based on different verticals. That can be security, that can be analytics, that can be a solution architect. Quick starts are available for you to get started with AWS. We have CloudFormation templates that are available. We have sample templates that are available. You can, of course, go and have a testing around, have a quick experiment on around how the things work into play in the AWS free tier account as well. We have professional services, we have Cloud Start, we have Educate as well as the Activate programs that are available. And apart from that, most important, let's say if you just want to get started, we are having 500 plus digital trainings available at free of cost. So I think that was a very brief understanding of what AWS is all about and some of the, I'll say, broader categories that have taken place, having computing, security, database, networking, and other aspects as well. So understanding a cloud, it's not just a one-day process. It's not that in case if you are in AWS or you are there in the cloud, you are automatically secured. You are automatically cost optimized. You're automatically resilient. It's no. It's a no. It's like we have all the features, we have all the functionalities that are available. It's our understanding on how exactly am I able to learn the best practices and implement that in my given architecture. All right. So it's altogether a journey. It's a journey that you get started with. So folks, I'll take a few moments to just ensure that we are all on the same pace. And let's quickly get started with a small demo. All right. It's a yet interesting demo where we are going to understand on, let's say in case if I'm just able to upload any media file to S3 bucket. Okay, S3, I hope everyone knows, it's an object level storage. Yeah, we are going to upload any kind of a media, audio file to this S3 bucket. And of course, talking about the most important part, which I always like about AWS, the serverless feature. We are not going to use any servers. I want the moment the file is uploaded to your S3 bucket, using with the help of transcribed, it should be able to perform or create a file which is automatically translated, creating a transcripts. Okay, that means whatever speech you say or whatever is the audio file that I do have saved here in S3 bucket, it should automatically able to trigger that event using a Lambda. Along with, I want to keep a watch how things are working. I can use CloudWatch for that. All right. Using both of them, I should be able to see the transcripts that are available in the same S3 bucket. Am I using servers? No, it's a serverless. How much is the cost? In case of S3, if I talk about, it's like just a quick example, because for every service, cost varies in different regions because of the compliance. Cost might be, let's say, 0.000002 dollars per hour per GB. And that will again vary. You can just refer the documentation. So that's the cost. That's simple. I think we are good to get started. Okay. So folks, this is my console. This is my screen. What exactly first I'm going to do here is I'm going to create an automatically processing data in S3, in which case, of course, as per the architecture, we are going to utilize the Lambda here. So I think automating, in case if I'm trying to talk about, that is one of the cornerstones of the cloud computing. So in case if your data is processing that needs to happen once the data is uploaded, why not to automate that? And there is no reason I do not want to really automate that part. All right. So getting started with this, first of all, what I'm going to need is the IAM role for that. Okay. So in case if I go to the IAM dashboard and I click on roles. Okay. From here, I'm going to create a role. In case if you aren't aware about what is the role, it's like calling the AWS services on our behalf. It's like AWS is going to do that on my behalf. All right. So getting started with clicking on creating a role, I'm going to use a Lambda function. And clicking again to the permissions part. Here we are going to use three different features. One is I want using Lambda, I want to call my S3 bucket. I want to utilize the transcribe, and I would like to utilize my CloudWatch. And here in this case, we are giving the full access, the full rights. Ensure in case if you do not want to, in case if you just want to go ahead with the read-only permissions, you can do that. All right. So I'm just going to use S3 bucket. That is your full access here in this case. I'm going to search for the transcribe as well. That's your Amazon transcribe full access. And the third one is your CloudWatch. Okay, if I'm searching for CloudWatch full access, here we go. Click on next add tags. Okay, I would like to name it as an application, and any kind of a value you can give. So here I'm just going ahead with the meeting transcriber. All right, going ahead, I can quickly have a review on what is going to be the name of my this role. And I'll be just setting it as a transcribe meeting role. All right. And as per the policies, we have attached AWS managed policies. That is your S3 full access, Transcribe full access, and the CloudWatch full access. All right, all set. Click on create a role. Perfect. If I'm able to search for the same role, in case if I'm able to just type transcribe meeting role, I'm able to see all the permissions that I'm having. They are attached. All good. Another step is to create a Lambda function. So I'm going to get started with creating a Lambda function, searching for Lambda. Click on create a function and getting started with author from scratch. All right. So here I'm just going to name it as transcribe meeting Lambda. Okay. And as per this runtime, based on your requirement, you can choose any of the languages which is supporting your, let's say, application code. Here in this case, what I'm having currently is the code which is written in Python. Okay, I can use 3.9, which is the latest, or 3.8 as well. For this code, I'm just choosing a 3.8. All right. Changing the default execution role. So from here, you can utilize the role that we have created in the previous step. Okay, so from here, I'll be choosing the transcribe meeting role. We are good to get started. No any changes needs to be made to the advanced settings. And that's it. Click on create function. Perfect. Now here, if I'm able to go to the Lambda function, I'm already having a code which is written, which is with me. Based on your application, you can write a code. You can get it from the developer and just paste it here. Okay. This code, it needs to be deployed here in this case. Changes aren't deployed. I'm going to click on deploy here. All good. All right. So here in this case, I have created a role. I'm having a Lambda code attached. The function is running. All good. The third part here is I'm going to go to the S3 bucket to create a bucket where I want that my file needs to be uploaded. And of course, whatever transcript is being generated using the transcript, that has to be stored there itself. All right, I'm having few buckets already in my account. Let me just click on create a bucket. All right, I'm just going to name it as some really nice name. Let's just name it as a meeting audio. And of course, we know this thing that whatever name you are having in S3, that has to be, or whatever bucket that you create in S3, that has to be unique globally. So let's say whatever name you keep, no one in the entire globe, whosoever is having the same AWS account, is going to have the same name. All right. So I'll just name it as some with random number, like let's say 1, 2, 3 or 0. I'm creating this bucket in the North Virginia region. And again, keeping the best security, again, the best practices in mind. What I want is, I want to block all the public access. All right. That's what I'm just choosing a default model here in this case. I want to give it a name as a tagging option. So you can just, name it as let's say an app. And of course, after that, I can name it as a meeting transcriber. Perfect. And again, for a good practices, it's a good option to go and enable the default encryption. So if I click on enable, you can either use Amazon S3, that is your SSE S3 key, or you can use the KMS as well. I'll be just keeping it real simple right now and choosing the S3 key. Okay, I think we are all good. I hope the name is just not repeated. If I click on create a bucket, perfect. If I go to the creation date here, I'm able to see I've just created this bucket. All right. Anyways, I do not have anything that is being uploaded here. I'll just go to the properties and I'm going to create the event notification by using the Lambda that we have created in the previous step. All right. If I go to the event notification part, click on create event notification. Event name, I'll just name it as, let's say, audio upload trigger. All right. And suffix, I want all of the files that I'm having. Let's say that can be with .mp3 extension. I'll be clicking on all object, create events. All good. And I'm going to choose the Lambda function that we have created in the previous steps. All right. This is the transcribe meeting Lambda that we have. All good. In case if you would like to work again around with the permissions, you can accordingly go and choose the event types as well. All right. I'll be clicking on save the changes. Perfect. I'm able to see my S3 bucket has been properly created again with the event triggers enabled. All right. I'm able to see here. Now, if I go to the objects from here, I'm going to upload a sample MP3 file. You can either do that in your, let's say, whatever meetings you have, whatever recordings you are having, you can simply upload it from here, and whatever transcription or transcribe is required here, it is going to work. Why? Because we have included those permissions while creating the role and into the Lambda trigger as well. All right. So just click on upload, add files, and I'm having some automatically processing S3 using, that's a sample file, .mp3 file that I'm having. All good. I'm going to click on upload itself. Might take few seconds. Perfect. So the file has been uploaded here in this case. Now, if I would like to go and check the logs part here, how will I do that? So now to understand on what events has taken place, a kind of an infrastructure level monitoring, the right tool that we are using is the CloudWatch. Why? Why? Because of course, while creating the Lambda also, we have given the permissions in the roles part. So if I go to the log groups part, I'm able to see here, this log group has been created. If I click on this and further at this time, I'm able to see the event has been generated. All right. Like let's say in case if I had a code error or something, code syntax error that was deliberate, we'll be able to understand and I can get those information in case of your this file. All right. Similarly, if I go to the transcribe process as well. All right. I can try creating a job from here in case if I'm able to do that, whatever outputs or whenever you are trying to upload a file to your S3 bucket, it should be able to create a transcribe there in your S3 bucket. All right. So folks, I think transcribe is one of the new services and Lambda and S3 is something that most of the use cases we are having in the organizations. So I think we are done for the day, and thank you so much for being the patient listener. I hope you had a great time and have a happy learning, and thanks for joining the session.